about your playwriting career. How did you get started and what made you decide to become a playwright?
I've written things for school newspapers and college newspapers and short stories and things like that. And at a certain point I decided to try writing a little bit more. And as far as the playwriting is concerned, I literally saw a little ad about a one-act play festival. And I thought, I'll try to write a play. And they included my play in the festival, and they asked me if I wanted to direct it. And that was the beginning of that.
So tell me about Consider the Oyster.
Consider the Oyster is a comedy, and it's based on two bizarre facts that I came across. One being that physicians, orthopedic surgeons, are now using ground up or powdered oyster shell to help repair human bone. And I also knew that all oysters are born male and they all turn female. So I simply combined those two facts. Well, on that basis, it's a comedy, and there's a lot of scope for comedic material along gender lines. But what really attracted me to actually want to write it is that beyond all the comedy, it's really a question about what does it mean to love another person. Because this is the protagonist in the play is a young man who's just gotten newly engaged, has a fiance, and so what happens if the person that you love or marry has a stroke, or loses a limb, or has a disease, or gets older, or changes religion? You know, there's all kinds of things that happen to people. The person that you marry isn't necessarily the person you're living with 2, 5, 10, 20 years down the line. So the question is, what is it that you love about that person? To me, that's a really interesting question. And that's what, beyond the comedy, that's what the play's about.
I think the thing for me that sets your plays apart, and kind of ties them together too, is that it seems like each of your plays that I've worked on are based on some obscure information. And I'm wondering, how do you go, well, first of all, how do you come across this information? And then how do those little facts like hallucinogenic South American ritual wine, how does that spring into a play for you?
If something kind of catches my attention, which was the case in the last play that I had premiere here, the play about Isaac Newton, that was me literally at 2 or 3 in the morning catching the back end of a documentary on Newton, and some historian was reading from a letter Newton had written to John Locke, the philosopher, saying, "You've endeavored to embroil me with women, and I wish you were dead." And I just kind of sat up when I heard that. I thought, that's not the Newton I know. And when I heard that, I thought, that's just despair. That's not anger. That's just a man in total despair. And it kind of drove me, well, what's going on? Why did he write this? When did he write this? What's happening in his life? And the more I looked into it, the more interesting and bizarre it became. And I wanted to try to, figure that out and dramatize it.
So this will be play number 4 for you at the Purple Rose.
Right.
Why do you keep coming back here to do your plays?
I seem to be, because I'm tolerated. You want to work with people that seem to kind of get what you're doing.
Do you enjoy being part of the process?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's inspiring. It's invigorating, because when you write things, I write in my basement for whatever reason. I prefer to be subterranean, and it's just me and my laptop, and it's a very hermetically sealed, insular little world, and I've got to keep the whole universe of the play inside my head. And if I do this here, how does that affect over here? And then when I hand it over to Guy, it's a blueprint for the play. It's not the play. It's just the first step. And then to see what other people bring to the process is inspiring, because they're really imaginative, talented people. And the play becomes bigger and richer and fuller every day in the rehearsal process. And it's really, really gratifying to be a part of that.
What's your favorite memory of working on a play at the Purple Rose so far?
My favorite memory, I have a lot of favorite memories. I can tell you one of them was rehearsing the late, great Henry Boyle, when John Leopard was Henry Boyle. and he's got this speech or soliloquy at the end of the play about what he wants or what he's looking for. It's this, big, amped up, emotionally driven speech. And we're getting to the end of the rehearsal process at this point, and there's been issues on a variety of different levels. But that's got to be perfect. That scene's got to be perfect. And I was in the theater with Guy, and I think I was sitting in the second row, and he was sitting like in the fourth or fifth row behind me. And it was just John on stage. Everybody else was gone. I think there might have been one apprentice there. And John came out, and he did that speech, and he nailed it. I mean, just nailed it. It was word perfect, heartfelt, passionate. And I was sitting in the second row, and I started crying. And I wrote it. And I'm trying to get a grip. I'm saying, Jesus Christ, you wrote the damn thing. And then behind me, I heard Guy sob. And I thought, we got it. We're where we need to be. And that was a great moment. Happy 20th anniversary, Purple Rose Theater. It's been a privilege to be associated with you for the past 5 years, and I hope for another 25 years.